Welcome to the New York City Taxi and Limousine Commission's sex trafficking training for TLC licensed drivers. Why does sex trafficking concern you? You are receiving this training because the New York City Council recently passed Local Law 36/2012, which penalizes TLC licensees who are convicted in criminal court of sex trafficking, promoting prostitution, or compelling prostitution, and who use their vehicles to do so. This does not mean that you will be penalized for picking up a person involved in prostitution and transporting them from one place to another. Remember, it is illegal to refuse a fare based upon a person's appearance or gender. You will only be affected by this law if convicted in criminal court of sex trafficking, promoting prostitution, and compelling prostitution. New York City local law defines sex trafficking with a vehicle as committing any of the following crimes set forth in the penal law, as evidenced by the conviction of such crime: promoting prostitution in the third, second, and first degree, sex trafficking or compelling prostitution, and using a vehicle licensed by the Commission to commit such crimes. What is sex trafficking? Sex trafficking affects thousands of individuals each year. Sex trafficking affects individuals from many different backgrounds and ethnicities, including U.S. citizens and immigrants. Although it is more common for the victims of sex trafficking to be women, it is possible for men, children, teenagers, and transgendered individuals to be victims also. Every night, victims are forced to have sex against their will with multiple clients. It is common for victims to have multiple buyers or clients per shift, and sometimes even more. Sex trafficking is against the law and is considered a felony in criminal court. Why is it important for drivers to learn about sex trafficking? The goal of this course is to make you aware of sex trafficking and its many forms. This law does not affect law-abiding citizens and drivers. While the vast majority of taxi and FHV drivers in New York City are not involved in any way with sex trafficking, livery and other for-hire vehicles are sometimes used to transport victims to and from clients. Arranging, transporting, and recruiting victims for prostitution is illegal, and being convicted of any one of these in criminal court could result in a prison sentence, fines, and revocation of your license. Any aspect of sex trafficking is strictly prohibited and punishable by law. Some drivers are using their vehicles to assist pimps or sex traffickers to transport victims to clients. It is illegal to use your vehicle to promote or assist in the transporting or selling of sex in any form with a pimp or john. Victims are often delivered to clients or buyers. Traffickers give victims lists containing the names and phone numbers of drivers and instruct them to call and indicate their availability for delivery. Often called brothels on wheels, some TLC licensed drivers and some unlicensed drivers work with pimps or johns and use their vehicles to arrange, transport, or traffic people for sex and make money from it. These drivers transport the victims from one buyer to the next throughout the New York metro region and collect the victims' earnings after each act of commercial sex. Victims are often delivered to clients by livery drivers who set up appointments with pimps and johns for the buying or selling of sex, and they are getting paid to do so. At the end of the evening, the driver will call the victim's pimp to say how many sex buyers purchased sex and keep half of the victim's earnings. After the driver drops off the victim, the pimp typically keeps the remainder of the earnings and the victim receives nothing. There are also some drivers who are using their vehicles to recruit people into prostitution and to deliver them for a fee to brothels and other businesses engaged in prostitution. It is illegal to use your vehicle to recruit and/or deliver persons to and from brothels or other businesses where sex is sold, or add additional fees to increase profits for these trips. What is the law? The new law will only penalize TLC drivers and licensees who are convicted in criminal court of promoting prostitution or sex trafficking and use their vehicles to do so. Some drivers knowingly engage in a business of transporting individuals to patrons for the purposes of prostitution. It is therefore necessary to combat this activity by establishing penalties against those who are misusing TLC licenses in this manner. This law will not affect those drivers who are picking up fares legally. It is not the Council's intent to penalize TLC licensed drivers for lawfully accepting a fare or for failing to investigate illegal activities that may be occurring within their vehicle without their knowledge. All licensed TLC drivers are required to take this course in sex trafficking awareness. The Commission shall develop and commence a program to notify drivers of all vehicles licensed by the Commission that facilitating sex trafficking with a vehicle is illegal. The penalties for sex trafficking and promoting prostitution are set forth in the New York State Penal Law, Article 230, and the New York City Administrative Code, Chapter 19, Sections 505 and 507. These penalties include a monetary fine of up to $30,000 and up to 25 years imprisonment. A person is guilty of sex trafficking if he or she intentionally advances or profits from prostitution. If you are convicted in criminal court of sex trafficking, promoting prostitution, or compelling prostitution while using a TLC licensed vehicle, you will lose your license, the license for the vehicle, and will be fined $10,000. Any driver or vehicle owner of a vehicle licensed by the Commission or base station licensee who facilitates sex trafficking with a vehicle shall be liable for a civil penalty of $10,000, and the Commission shall revoke the license of such driver. If your TLC license is revoked, you will have to wait 3 years before you can submit another license application, and you may then be subject to an interview regarding the revocation. For more information, please see Chapter 54, Section 8 of the Taxi and Limousine Commission Rules and Regulations. The TLC will also revoke the license of the base if the base station license holder is convicted in criminal court of sex trafficking, promoting prostitution, or compelling prostitution. Any driver or vehicle owner of a vehicle licensed by the Commission or base station licensee who facilitates sex trafficking with a vehicle shall be liable for a civil penalty of $10,000, and the Commission shall revoke the license of such driver, the license of the vehicle used to commit such facilitation when the person who facilitated sex trafficking is the owner of such vehicle, and the license of the base station licensee when such base station licensee committed such facilitation and the vehicle used to commit such facilitation was affiliated with the base station licensed by such licensee at the time such offense was committed. How does this affect me? In accordance with New York City Administrative Code, Section 19505, subsection Q, drivers may not refuse fares solely based on the appearance of an individual, and it is unlawful to refuse a fare based upon an individual's actual or perceived sexual orientation or gender, whether or not an individual's gender identity, self-image, appearance, behavior, or expression is different from that traditionally associated with the legal sex assigned to an individual at birth. This does not mean you will be penalized for picking up a person involved in prostitution and transporting them from one place to another. Remember, it is illegal to refuse a fare based upon a person's appearance or gender. If you are a medallion taxi driver, you should continue to pick up passengers hailing from the street and take them to their destination as you normally would. You will not be in violation of the law if you do. However, not picking someone up could result in a refusal summons. If you are a for-hire vehicle driver, you should continue to pick up passengers by prearrangement through your base and take them to their destination. The fare charged should be the prearranged rate set by the base and in no way tied to fees collected from commercial sexual activities. You will not get in trouble for picking up a passenger that you suspect is a prostitute, only when you knowingly arrange with a pimp or john and profit above and beyond the total fare for transporting a prostitute to a client and are convicted in criminal court will you be found accountable under this law. Again, you can and should continue to pick up passengers in accordance with your license type and our rules as you normally would. You will not be in violation of the law if you do. If you are a yellow taxi driver, you will continue to pick up hailing passengers on the street. If you are an FHV driver, you will continue serving passengers through prearranged pickups by your base. This concludes the Sex Trafficking Training Awareness course. If you have any questions about sex trafficking or assisting victims of sex trafficking, please contact the National Human Trafficking Resource Center at 888-373-7888. If you need some more clarification about doing your job as a licensed TLC driver, please contact the New York City Taxi and Limousine Commission at 718-391-5501.